Bigger doesn't always mean better, and I think Cliff May did an amazing job of building homes that served, 1960s American families, but also continue to serve families today. Hi, I'm Nichole Shanfeld. I'm here with Estate Media, and today I'm going to tell you my stories behind the listing. 1023 Maybrook Drive. It's the William Green residence in Beverly Hills Post Office on one of my favorite streets called Maybrook. It was built in 1959 by architect David Freeman. It's a character-filled home, but you drive right into the driveway and you pull up to this yellow door that has the original fixture on the door from when David built it for William Green. And what I loved so much about this house was it's in a neighborhood that is surrounded by a lot of new construction and homes that are more traditional and don't have character the way that this house did. So this was a guest house for them. They have incredible taste in homes, in art, in design, in gardening, and so this house had an amazing garden. They kept the original fireplace that's completely clad in this amazing stone. The terrazzo and cork flooring throughout is really special. The wood beam ceilings, teak walls. I mean, there's so many details about this house that kind of transport you into a different era. The kitchen was yellow to match the front door, which I loved and was a cool feature. But you had the older stove, you had the old oven, you had essentially an indoor barbecue. And what I loved especially about this house was the location on Maybrook. It looks out over all of these iconic homes in Beverly Hills, because rarely do homes in this neighborhood come available, and rarely do mid-century homes with a story behind them. It was a super cool property to sell and a really seamless sale overall. 1025 Dala is one of 3 homes located on a quiet little cul-de-sac street in Lower Beverly Hills proper. And this house was a super cool listing to be a part of. It was purchased by my client 21 years before I sold it, so 23 years, let's call it, from today. And the house is previously owned by Nick Sovano. He was Frank Sinatra's friend, manager, confidant, and he lived there for most of his life. My client came in and remodeled a lot of it. He took inspiration from his house in Hawaii, so a lot of the materials were reminiscent of a house you would see like on the coast of Kona, with dark koa wood and light limestone and really an open floor plan that kind of looks out onto the yard. But the best part of this house, and the part of this house that got a wow from almost everyone that walked through it, was the entrance, which is essentially an art gallery. So my client showcased his Andy Warhol collection in this portion of the house, and it's pretty much an art collector's dream because you walk right in and there's tons of light from this glass ceiling that draws you in immediately. So I knew that the buyer for this was going to be somebody in the art world and somebody who wanted a mix of luxury living, but also just a practical place to store their art. And that was what my client used it for. And then it turns kind of into a classic post and beam residence, where windows and roof lines and everywhere you look has a different moment to it. It was almost a mix between a Hawaiian vacation home and an Aspen ski house on the mountain, because it had these warm, neutral brown tones. And it's a combination I never thought would work, but somehow my client was able to just make it work. 1031 Summit was a house that I sold in Lower Beverly Hills proper. It was located on a flag lot, which means you couldn't see it from the street. It was actually Scott Mitchell and Sandy Gallen's first project together. If you're not aware of who Sandy Gallen and Scott Mitchell are, let me start by explaining who Sandy is. Sandy was a prominent and iconic entertainment agent and producer for many years. In the mid-1990s, he started buying homes for himself, creating his dream home, and then throwing these epic dinner parties with all of his clients and entertainment industry executives at his homes. As time went on, he started building his dream homes, and every time he'd have a client over, that client would want to buy it from him. which then began the start to his career of flipping homes. At the time was just getting his footing in the architectural world, and Sandy took him under his wing and they started designing homes together. They're known for this really moody, warm, inviting, but wow factor type of interior design. Summit was their first project together, so you drive up this driveway and it looks like a Nantucket-styled shingled house. You have no idea what you're gonna walk into. But you walk in, there's this insane living room, tons of scale. The entire floor, all the walls, all the bookcases, everywhere you look has this incredible wood tone, which gives it a natural, luxurious ambiance. And knowing that it was Sandy's home was something that actually drew the buyer to it. She was one of his closest friends. She had attended dinner parties at this house when Sandy was the owner. She walked in, she fell in love with it, she bought it, and we never even showed it to anybody else. It was obviously pretty special to witness a moment where this buyer connected to the house, and so much so that she was willing to pay the price and not let anyone else walk through. 7436 Mulholland Drive, otherwise known as the Garcia House, is probably one of the top 10 most iconic pieces of art. It's not even a house, it's truly a piece of art in the residential mid-century world. It's probably the #1 or #2 residences in Los Angeles, so the opportunity to have sold this was a huge moment for me in my career. The house was built by John Lautner in 1962 for a music composer named Russell Garcia, which is how it got its name as the Garcia House. But what it's known in popular culture is the Rainbow House, because you have this insane parabolic roof with 30-foot high ceilings and walls of glass and different colored glass, and it really looks like a rainbow. It's floating in the sky, essentially. It's on 60-foot stilts. It's often referred to as the Stilt House, which was actually what it was when Lethal Weapon 2 filmed at it. So it was called the Stilt House, and people thought that was super cool. What was so amazing about Lautner was his ability to create a house that almost seemed to come out of his dreams, but also make it livable. So when you walked into this house, there was a grand foyer, which was completely open. It was not enclosed, and all you saw was what feels like a jungle. And to your right, you have the living quarters with the guest rooms and the master or the primary bedroom. And on the other side, you actually have to exit that part, walk outside, and go into the kitchen and the living room that the entertaining takes place in. John Sharp did an incredible job redoing the landscaping. He's a great landscape architect, and everywhere you looked there was a new plant, there was a new detail that was just so unique. The next one is the Mellenthin residence, which is located in Fryman Canyon. It's a Cliff May house that was built for Bill Mellenthin and his family over 60 years ago. This house never made it to the market. It has never been shown in photos or online. Bill Mellenthin was a pretty prominent builder in post-war Los Angeles and what we know now today as the Valley, and a very suburban neighborhood. But when it came to his own house, he bought almost 2 acres of land in Fryman Canyon. He took 2 lots and he combined them, and he enlisted one of his good friends, who is my favorite architect, Cliff May, the king of the California ranch home. Cliff May, he was a super unique architect in the sense that he was ahead of his time in terms of creating a home that could serve Southern California specifically, with his ability to create a function around in the home around indoor and outdoor entertaining. So his houses kind of feel like tree houses. There's maybe 40 oak trees, protected oak trees on this property, and from every view you just look out into complete lush greenery. In a lot of Cliff May's houses you'll see skylights with beams kind of running adjacent to it, and lots of walls of glass, but also this blend of the indoor and the outdoor. Whether you know it or not, comes from Cliff May and his early designs and his early influence in the architectural world. I love a ranch house. I love a 1-story. I think they're so chic and they're so functional and practical. You know, bigger doesn't always mean better, and I think Cliff May did an amazing job of building homes that served 1960s American families, but also continue to serve families today. He used a lot of terrazzo, a lot of stone, a lot of wood materials, and was just able to create a type of home that no one else has really been able to top. And it was really special to have the opportunity to be a part of a sale, the only sale of this home after 61 years of it being in the same family. And knowing that I've sold one of Cliff May's 1,000 custom homes is a pretty cool resume booster. Hi everyone, I'm Nichole Shanfeld, and I would like to thank Estate Media for having me here today to tell my stories behind the listing.